Hey guys, my name's Sheri and today I'm going to show you how to create some really fun treats that you can have for a high tea party or a fancy picnic. I've partnered with Cheryl's Cookies to make this super easy. We don't have to do any preparation.
First up, we're going to start with some marbled lilac cookies. These look so fancy, but they're actually really simple to make.
We're going to start with a cutout cookie dough, and I'm going to pull out a piece of parchment paper, and this is what we're going to roll the dough onto. Just roll these out until they're as thick as you want them to be. These do puff up a little bit in the oven, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to use this cookie cutter. It has kind of a jagged edge on the outside, and I'm just going to cut out as many as I can. I'm adding these cookies to a baking tray with parchment paper at the bottom, and we're going to bake these for about 7 or 8 minutes. While those are baking, we can start making our frosting. I'm going to take a little bit of Cheryl's vanilla buttercream and pop it in a small bowl. In order to dip the cookies, we need this to be nice and liquidy, so I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 15 seconds. And as you can see, after a couple seconds in the microwave, it is perfectly flowy. I'm going to take just a couple drops of purple food coloring and then gently swirl it through with a spoon. Okay, our cookies have finished baking and cooling. I'm going to hold the cookie in my fingertips and gently dip it into this marbled buttercream. Pull it out and just let that excess fall off. I can never get over how pretty that turns out. And now if you want to get really fancy, you can add some fresh flowers. I have fresh lilacs here, but you can use any kind of fresh flower you want. Just make sure that if you're using edible flowers, they are indeed edible. Okay, next we're gonna make our cherry topped cookie stacks. And we're gonna do exactly the same thing we did the first time, rolling out the dough between 2 pieces of parchment paper. Cheryl sent over a bunch of fun questions for me to get to, so let's see what they have. What is the Sheri Bakes origin story? I had a pretty humble beginning. In my family, nobody really likes to cook except for me. I had a tolerance for it. So I was put in charge of making all of the birthday treats for my siblings. And when I got married, I did the same thing with his siblings. Now mind you, we have a pretty large combined family, so I was baking a cake every month. So I guess you could say I learned pretty quickly and I gained lots of experience in a short amount of time. Fast forward a couple years, I had my 2 babies and my baking hobby kind of went to the back burner. But when they got a bit older, I really needed a creative outlet and just something to do, and I went back to the baking. Instead of going out and getting a job like most normal people, I decided maybe I can do this at home. Maybe I can turn my hobby into a career. Surprisingly enough, I was actually able to do that. It was the best decision of my life, and that is basically how it all started. Now that this is rolled out, I'm gonna cut out some round cookies. And just like we did with the other ones, we're gonna bake these for about 7 to 10 minutes. Just until those edges are slightly golden brown. If you're ever worried about your cookie dough spreading, you can pop this in the fridge for about 10 minutes just to firm up that cookie dough, and it will help tremendously. Where did you learn to bake and decorate like this? I'm a big advocate for educating yourself, so if you can get on YouTube and learn how to bake a cake from YouTube or from books, that's the way to go. That's how I learned how to do everything that I know today. You're not going to learn how to decorate a cake overnight, so just give it time, don't put pressure on yourself, and try to enjoy the process. While we wait, let's prep that frosting for these cookie stacks. I have a little bit of pink food coloring here, and I'm just gonna add a tiny drop of it. I'm going for a light pink. How did my Caketopia baking book come about? So back in 2020, when lockdown just started, the whole world was going crazy, I got an email from Page Street Publishing and they wanted to know if I wanted to write a book. That just felt like destiny. It was perfect timing. I didn't have a lot on my plate at that time. It definitely took a leap of faith, but I'm so glad that I did it and would happily do it again. I have a large piping bag with a French tip on the end. A French tip is basically just any piping tip with all the little teeth on the end. Okay, we're gonna fold this bag inside out and then add all this buttercream to the bag. You have to do this while they're still warm, but you can take something round a little bit bigger than the cookie itself and just kind of swirl the cookie inside. That's just gonna help them to keep their really nice round shape. So we're gonna take our piping bag and the round cookies and just pipe a swirl into the middle. And then you're gonna take another cookie and just sandwich that on top. Do that again. Exactly the same thing. And another cookie. And then we're gonna add one more swirl on top. These make the cutest little tea cakes. And to finish it off, I'm gonna add a cute little maraschino cherry on top. Aren't they adorable? All right guys, I've saved the easiest one for last. We're making strawberry jam thumbprint cookies. So what you wanna do is take a small cookie scoop like this, scoop out a ball of dough, and then roll it in between your hands until it's perfectly round. What is it about cakes that makes them so much fun to work with? I think cake decorating as opposed to cookie decorating is a bit more approachable. It's fairly simple to do and you don't have to spend hours and hours decorating. I mean, you could if you wanted to, and I definitely have, but you can also make a cake in 5 minutes and it looks amazing. What are some tips for making the best buttercream? It mostly comes down to temperature and consistency. Buttercream is made up mostly of butter, so if you imagine leaving a pound of butter on the counter in the summertime, it's gonna melt. And that's exactly the same thing that'll happen to your buttercream. So if it's a hot day, keep your buttercream in a cool place. You can always add a little bit of extra heavy cream to your recipe if it's too thick, or extra powdered sugar if it's too thin. But the most important buttercream tip that I can think of is to use a rubber spatula and just beat the heck out of that buttercream before you even use it. It's gonna get rid of all those air bubbles and just make it so nice and smooth. What are some of my favorite dessert creations? I think one of my favorites would have to be the black drip cake on the front of my book, Caketopia. I absolutely love how the colors contrast each other. It's such a simple design, but it really pops. I'm gonna make a little indentation in each cookie with my thumb, hence the name thumbprint cookies. And once they've baked, we're gonna pour some jam into these holes. These have baked and cooled, and I'm just gonna add a little teaspoon of strawberry jam to the center of each. Now I know I said these are for a picnic, but honestly, I have to dig in and taste these. Words cannot describe, they melt in your mouth. Chef's kiss. Cheryl's has all kinds of treats, not just the pre-made dough. They have pre-baked cookies. So if you don't want to go to all the trouble of baking it yourself, you can go that route too. Big thank you to Cheryl's, and thank you guys for being here and for watching. I'm off for a picnic, but I will catch you guys next time. Bye.